Thank you.
Do you know who you are?
Yep, that's always good. I'm better known as Khaki to my friends, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the frail elderly, the ones who can't be here because there's a lack of transportation. They're in a wheelchair. They can get to medical meetings, but they're pretty limited to what other things they can get to unless they have a friend or a family member who can transport them. I'm here to talk about the frail elderly who want to stay in their own home, who with the aid of block grant funds can stay in their own home. It's a whole lot cheaper and they're a whole lot happier if they don't have to go to some kind of residential living facility. It's a whole lot cheaper, folks. It won't impact our Medicaid and Medicare bills nearly as much as to put them in a facility will cost. So I'm speaking on their behalf. I'm speaking on that elderly person's behalf who the only meal they get in a day is that home-delivered meal provided by block grant funds. I'm speaking of the elderly who are neglected or abused and who depend on legal aid services and making sure that these services are not cut for the elderly. I'm speaking for those elderly who have health problems and who need that extra health incentive money. Maybe they're just over the line and don't qualify for Medicaid, but they need help getting those prescription drugs. And the North Carolina prescription program has been a godsend. I'm speaking of the elderly who are confused about their medications and who need to know how to take them safely. And thank God for MedCheck. It's a wonderful program, and we hope to see that one continued. I want to talk some about the active elderly too. I fall in that category because I'm a senior, and I'm still working. But look at all the baby boomers who are starting to retire, and we're not prepared to deal with them, and they're the active elderly. So I'm advocating also for things like senior centers to keep our seniors active. If you're active, you live longer. If you live longer, we want to keep you in good health. So we want to have congregate meals at these sites available. There are so many things that impact on us. One of the best things that we have going for the active elderly is senior games. If you don't go, you have missed out tremendously because it's a way for them to stay active. Glenda, Carolyn, do you know how old the oldest person participating from this county was?
No, I don't. I know that we had one that was 93.
A 93-year-old, active, healthy, not needing the services that my agency generally provides. But at that point where they do need those services, those block grant funds are critical. I mean, we're not talking it would be nice to have. We're talking those are lifesavers. Those are the things that keep the elderly with nutrition. It's the things that keep the elderly at home and happy. It's a savings to the state, to the counties. It's very, very critical that the elderly not be forgotten in this budget process or not sloughed aside in this budget process. We need to remember, if we're all lucky, someday we may need that kind of help. It's really, really critical. Thank you.
Thank you and good morning. I'd like to say thank you to the Together North Carolina as well as our legislators. You know, we're very fortunate here in Cumberland County that we've got a very proactive delegation. They were the first in the county, actually the first in the state and the first in the country that came together to let us know as nonprofit directors of stimulus money that was going to be offered and enabled us to start going after some of the stimulus money that was available. Having said that, the stimulus money still is not enough. I do represent the Child Advocacy Center right here in Cumberland County, and we are very challenged. Typically, we get some funding from the state, some funding from the county, some funding from the city to train investigators to go out and investigate severe physical child abuse and sexual abuse here in Cumberland County. We know that over the past couple of years that we've had serious increases in the sexual abuse and the severe physical abuse because they come through our center. And being tight on dollars means that it's very difficult for us to train the investigators in specifically how to interview children who have been victims of severe physical and sexual abuse. And this is very important. We want to be responsible. We want to help tighten our belt in any way that we can, and we have done that. One of the things that I did at the center was, instead of relying on the training dollars that we used to get from the county in the state, knowing that those dollars are no longer there, I actively went after money from foundations, hoping that I could supplement what is now gone and ensure that these investigators continue to get the training that is absolutely critical in dealing with these children. Unfortunately, the foundations are facing the same economy that we all are, and many of them have lost assets upwards of 40%. So that means there's less foundation dollars. We are very fortunate for those foundations and for the United Way that has helped us throughout the years provide the programs that we desperately need. But everyone's impacted. And so I ask that when there are things that are, especially to you as my legislators, when there are items that are buried deep in some of the bills that you are going to be voting on, please read those carefully. In particular, our Children's Trust Fund money is in a bill that is proposing that it be taken out of public instruction and put under Health and Human Services. If that happens, we will lose our Children's Trust Fund money because we will no longer have a contract with the Children's Trust Fund. So I'm asking you to please review the bills very carefully before you vote. They have a profound impact on us, and we want to be able to ensure that our future here in Cumberland County is a good future. Because I know, and many of you in this room know, that when you invest in your children, you may not see an immediate return on your investment, but you sure will see it years later when they're not a member of a gang or having criminal problems, but when they are an active, healthy participant in our community because they received the resources that they needed at a very critical time in their lives. So help us out. We are here to serve you, but we need your help. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to say good morning to everyone. My name is William H. Robinson, housing specialist with Cumberland County Mental Health. And basically what I would like to say is that make sure that we consider the folk that are like with disability, mental health, developmental disability, and substance abuse disabilities in funding for housing, to keep them in mind because they're like at the low income of the scale there when it comes for housing. So please, please, please consider them in your decision making and make sure that if we have what we call tax credit units or tax credit units where people with targeted units, please make sure that you consider that and continue to fund that. That is critical in reference to the housing need for people with disabilities. Thank you.